What is up, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Happy Thursday. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to the Verified AMA. I'm your host, Lawton Ho, here with Verified Investing, and I go live every single day. The markets are open, and sometimes when they're not, from 12:30 to 1:15 to answer your questions. I hope you guys have had a good and profitable trading day. We had some big earnings last night since we last spoke. We had Microsoft, we had Meta, we had Carvana, tons and tons of things moving off of earnings. Talk to me. What's going on, guys? As always, you can ask your questions. And the way this is going to work is you're going to ask your questions by scanning this QR code right here to ask your question, or visit the verified investing homepage to ask your questions. With that being said, what type of questions do you guys have for me today? What's going on? Let me share my charts. Alrighty then. Let's take a look at the S&P. What is it doing? It is only slightly positive. It almost went negative, and that's very surprising considering Microsoft up on earnings. But look, it did fall. But at the start of the day, it was up 8%. Meta is up 12%. And at its peak today, it was up 13%. Wow. NVIDIA actually was negative briefly, bounced back, was about 2% higher. And despite all that, the S&P basically only slightly up. The Q's only slightly up. SOXS having a nice day, up to basically $7.60. Absolutely incredible price action today from the markets. Let's see this. Do some troubleshooting. Should be working. Anyways, guys, what's going on? What is going on? Let's get into these questions, huh? Yusuf, start us off strong, Yusuf. What do you got for me? Yusuf says, hey, Lauren, what's up, Yusuf? Crypto is staying pretty strong, even with Jerome Powell damping hopes for a rate cut. Any chance that XRP and Bitcoin just pump higher? Like Bitcoin is still staying in this wedge, right? So I don't know that they're really staying that strong. They're up pretty much just about as much as the rest of the markets. You have this beautiful wedge formation kind of on the on Bitcoin chart. So let's see how it plays out, right? I would expect it to go higher if it could break this down-sloping trend line. However, as of now, there's nothing about these charts that make me feel like that they're going to go significantly higher. Could they go higher? Yes, of course, right? Everything can go higher, right? I just play the probabilities, right? And again, I say this all the time, and I'll say it to you again. I've been wrong before. I'm wrong all the time, right? But all I can do is read a chart, give you what I believe is likely to happen, and go from there. Pat says, good afternoon. Would you please provide some entry levels for an FCX long position? Yes. My entry point was 38.45, actually, for a long. And it hit yesterday. That was yesterday in the live day trading room. That was my entry level. It was a nice gap fill. Now, should it continue to come down, Likely looking to target this 3640 level for an entry long on FCX. Okay, that'd be my next level. The next gap fill there. Wes says, question about PDD. What's up, Wes? How's it going? Patiently waiting for this AM for the retrace of the neckline and inverse head and shoulders. Can you help with calculating the targeted move for the inverse head and shoulders pattern? Can we predict on the time? Let's take a look at your chart. Inverse head and shoulders pattern. Okay. Oh, okay. Big inverse head and shoulders pattern. Let's take a look at it. Boom. 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 Let's see the break of the neckline. The retrace. Wow, look at that. Perfect retrace. Amazing. That's so sick, Wes. That's so sick. That's so sick, Wes. I love it. That measured move. Let's take this measured move from the bottom, the top of the head, I guess the bottom of the head in this case. Find that measured move. Would be a move up 37%. Wow. I love this chart. Absolutely love this chart and love your entry. Great job. You're up 3% in one day on this entry. Ooh, I wish I saw this earlier. I would have been a buyer. Yeah, because this took so long to form, you're talking about 115 days, right? Is basically one side to the other. Your estimated time is going to take like longer, right? Because your time frame is also longer. So yeah. Anyways, that's awesome. Absolutely incredible. All right, David says, hi, Lon. What's up, David? What does the bearish engulfing pattern bar tell you about PALL? That means generally that you're likely to see a reversal, right? And again, my targeted downside move was to this gap fill just under $105. Dean says, hi, Lon. What's up, Dean? How's it going? Lululemon was waiting for a bounce at 200 and 180 to go long. Sure, reached 202 and bounced. Yep. Just pierced 202 and bounced. Will that significantly reduce the probability of 200 and 180? Should I keep fishing out or anchor? Well, here's the thing. Let's take a look at the action today. Yeah, it came to 201 and then bounced about $5. The thing is, when you're in Lululemon and you tell me to look at this, yeah, for a day trade, maybe I'd lower my entry, but not for a swing trade. You're not looking for 2% on a swing trade. You're just not. If you're looking for that's not enough, right? That's not enough. So I would say that unless you get a significant bounce, and it's coming into a time count, actually, I think Lululemon looks great, to be honest. Not financial advice. Don't. But I think Lululemon looks great for a buy. It looks amazing. I still like that $200 even level number. I don't think that this small bounce, even if it's 2%, is enough to dissuade me from entering, Dean. But this chart looks great. Nathan says, what does the chart for LUV look like today? Let's see. Oh, look, it bounced just above my level to to potentially go long. This nice pivot low down here at 30.30 got as low as 30.39. Nice bounce from that level, bounced about 2%. For me on LUV, it's no longer capable of making a head and shoulders pattern. I would say just because this shoulder would be lower than this, so it'd be down sloping, so that would actually be bullish, not bearish. Now you have a beautiful line of support that was just made. Let me delete some of these lines so it looks less confusing. So yeah, bounced off, kissed this, right? So this will likely get another bounce off of this trend line. If I was looking for a place to go long, I would look for a retrace to this trend line. That's what I would do. Luis says, hi, Lawton. What's up, Luis? Man, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Excuse me, guys. Jeez. My brain is not working. Do I see any retracement for Carvana? What did I tell you guys yesterday? I told you guys that Carvana looked kind of bullish, right? I said yesterday that I was kind of bullish on Carvana going to earnings. Not because, but it was at the highs of the chart, right? It was at the highs of the chart, but the pattern looks super bullish to me. Up move, sideways, downwards consolidation, classic bull flag, downsloping parallel channel, downsloping, whatever you want to call it, favors a move up and move up. It did. It was up 24% today, has pulled back so significantly, about 5% from that level. So are you asking if I see any retracements? I could see potential down move, right? Could see a topping tail depending on where this closes. We just have to wait and see some more. That's what I would say. But maybe to this previous all-time high, 377.53, that was a previous all-time high. You could consider being a buyer there. Hopefully you're able to see this now, man. Cool. I don't know. I keep yawning. I don't really yawn often. I don't know why. It just happens right now. All right. Let's wake up here, huh, guys? Let's get some energy. I need like a slap. All right. Ludo says, hi, Lon. Great service. Love to follow this daily. Thank you so much for tuning in, Ludo. I really appreciate it. 2 questions. All right. I'm all ears. When do you think GEV finally comes down? Good question. Let me see here. GEV. So for me, on GEV, and I've written articles about this. This is the last level of resistance I pretty much have on GEV. It's this trend line. 1, 2, third hit should see a pullback off of this upsloping trend line. But that's like at 713, 715. So if you're already short this position, that's not pretty. And I want it to come down, right? I 100% want this thing to come down. I think it favors a pullback. But as of now, the only levels I have, unless we see another pattern formation, is this trend line up here around the mid 710s, depending on what day it gets into there. All right, second question. What about Carvana's new all-time high? Yep. New all-time high. Time for a pullback? Yes, I believe so. But let's see if we get a topping tail. Okay. Justin says hi there. What's up, Justin? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning into the show. I really appreciate it. Michelle or Michelle says, can you do some analysis on Litecoin? Yeah, absolutely. Did it break on an upward trend to the downside? Well, not really, actually, because you have this. You have this, so it could, right? Classic up move, potentially bullish pattern here. You would have to break this down sloping trend line in order to really get that. Okay, to get that move. Yep, I got that PTD already. Santiago says, hi, Lawton. What's up, Santiago? Hope you're doing well. What do you think about Qualcomm to the short to midterm? Qualcomm, wow, yeah, getting absolutely destroyed on earnings, right? Did have decent earnings, right? Green earnings, but evidently not enough. This was the level for a bounce. Actually, this was the gap fill. It kissed it, or it might have hit it and bounced 0.5%. You see now it's chopping around this gap fill. Next level for me is down here. I would potentially be a buyer for a day trade, not necessarily a swing trade. My swing trade level, there's so much price action down here. Maybe right here. These two, I'd maybe consider getting in a swing on 142 and look to add to my position or just enter at 135 on Qualcomm, right? But generally, we'll turn this into a quintessential question. Generally, with earnings, you kind of see price action happen and then continue for the next 3 or 4 days. So I wouldn't touch really a stock for a longer term play. Generally, until like 3 or 4 days after earnings, but it depends. Okay. Louis says basis on socks, yep, is 710. Okay, sick, awesome. Have taken some profits, thinking of selling all and wait for a pullback. I mean, that's certainly not a bad idea. However, I mean, I think socks is at a great level now. But I have it coming to getting in the eights pretty soon. So, but it's up to you, right? You do what you want. Your cost basis is absolutely incredible, absolutely amazing. But what I personally would do would sell some, but always keep some in my back pocket. So if price does continue higher, I would be, I guess, safe. Lou says, hi, can you chart Siri? It dropped a lot today. Thanks. Absolutely. Let's take a look at Siri. Sirius XM. Yeah, I had earnings this morning, I believe. Yep. Didn't do too well. Fell about 11%. Had an amazing bounce. Let's see why it bounced where it bounced. I don't really have too much around that level, other than it was a previous gap fill, but not something I would consider very significant, right? You had this nice pivot low. This is where I likely would have entered a long, and it went a little bit further down, but had a really great recovery. For me on Siri, and you have this nice head and shoulders pattern that did end up breaking. You see this? Boom. Let's find that measured move here on Siri. Pretty much here. Would you look at that? It fulfilled the measured move and actually went a little bit lower below. Of course, we're not in the business of going long, or I'm not in the business of going long or short into earnings. And I wouldn't have shorted it anyways, because look how far it's down. It's down over 73% from its all-time highs. I'm not going to short something that low on the charts, despite its pretty decent rally from April. It rallied up 22% only, but the earnings must have been really, really poor. Not too surprising for me. But yeah. That's what I think about Siri. If I had to re-enter this, if I had to enter a swing long, I would wait for this 1950, basically. That nice gap fill. Marcus says, is Chipotle a buy here? That's a good question. Is it? I don't know. Wow, look at this. Talk about falling out of favor, huh? Falling down pretty decently. You have a gap fill here that you could buy at, another one here. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of gaps. Bigger the gap, the more I like it. So these are my levels for buying Chipotle. Support on Chipotle. Following poor earnings and continued sell. So 41.68 is the first level I'd consider buying. And then I'd add again a couple dollars lower, basically $2 lower. And then I add again. And this is about $2.50, $3 lower than that previous price. So these, you can always pause my stream, take a screenshot, save it, and put it in your pocket for later. Okay? Again, guys, thank you so much for watching me. Thank you for your questions. If you want to get in on the action, this is an interactive show. Right? So this only works if you guys ask questions. So, and I'm happy to answer your questions, but in order to get your question answered, you got to ask it. So scan that QR code down below in that bottom right-hand corner, or visit verifiedinvesting.com. On the top right of your screen on that homepage, you should see an area that says watch and ask. That allows you to both watch and ask me questions. All right? Good? All right, sweet. Let's keep going into it. Veronica says, please look at FXC potential upside. FXC or FCX? FCX, my potential upside on this, I'd be looking for 7% higher. $43. Why did it fall? Did it fall off of earnings? Yeah, earnings and then worsening. Yeah. Mr. Patel is asking about Costco. Sure, be happy to take a look at Costco. If it's a buy for a swing trade, looking at the bounce, is it hitting upsloping parallel channel? Let's see if there's a parallel here. Could be a parallel, but I like it better as just a flat trend line because you don't have that many parallel channels to the you don't have that nice of a trend line to the bottom. So yeah, looks like it could potentially be a buy here, guys. Looks pretty darn good. Has fallen about 13.5% from the from its recent highs. So for me, I would absolutely be a buyer should this. You can buy it on the break or wait for a retrace and buy on the retrace looking for a move higher. My target on this would be at least to this gap fill. I want more. I look for like 8% on this Costco trade. I know it's not the most, but Costco, to be fair, isn't a huge mover. Isn't the biggest mover. So Moncol says, hi, Lon. What's up, man? Moncol, can you take a look, please, at this? Okay, I entered along at 3 cents. Oh no. What am I about to open up on my screen? Okay. Pump USD. I can't. Let's see. I can't. This is just like. Yeah, this is a day trade, right? Okay. For me, let's see if you have the similar trend line as me. I have this nice trend line that it's tried and unsuccessfully broken out of. That's where I'd consider a long on this. I can't advise you on day trading this. I can just give you this pattern and tell you that if it breaks above, could go higher. This is now the line in the sand. Let's see if there's a wedge formation that we have that could potentially offer you guidance on the 1 minute. But this is like a very recent ICO. So I'm looking at this wedge pattern that you could play, Mancol. On a break above or a break below, you could long or short. But if you entered at 30 cents, great job, right? You're in the money 2%. So it's not bad. Just be careful. If this breaks, it's likely going lower. And that was for day trade. FCX also fell because of the tariffs on copper. Yep. Sarah says, thank you, Lawton. What's up, Sarah? Happy Thursday to you. Is this valid? A valid inverse head and shoulders on ZNOG? You guys love these small caps, don't you? All right, at 11 cents. Let's see. Let's see your inverse head and shoulder on ZNOG. Zion Oil and Gas. Is that valid? No. That is not valid. Talking about this. And it's not valid because the shoulder looks weird. I don't like the shoulder. It does look weird, but you're not going to kick a kid out of the class just because he looks funny, right? No, he has to do something extremely egregious or just like not qualify. And in this case, this child does not qualify. And I'll tell you why. It is because look at this neckline. It is upsloping, right? For head and shoulders, this is, again, quintessential question. And I cover this often, but for head and shoulders, it's important to remember that, I did it wrong. For head and shoulder to be valid, you need your neckline to be upsloping. Upsloping is bullish. Upsloping is bullish. Is bearish. Excuse me. Upsloping is bearish. Right. So head and shoulders needs to have an upsloping trend line, and then you're expecting move down. Up on the chart, down. Move is down. Upsloping trend line, down. We're thinking it's going down. Similarly and inversely, for an inverse head and shoulders on a neckline, it has to be downsloping. Okay? Downsloping neckline, you're going up. Downsloping trend line, you're going up. So in order for a head and shoulders to be valid, it has to have an upsloping trend line. In order for an inverse head and shoulders to be valid, it has to be downsloping. I hope that makes sense. So that is not a valid inverse head and shoulders pattern on this ZNOG. However, if you're talking about the gap, how about the gap of here? I love this gap. This is where I'd likely be a buyer. Brewski says, thanks and have an amazing day, you too. I appreciate you coming in to the chat, Brewski. Thanks for asking me questions. Brewski's wondering about the coin miners Hut Riot. Iron Hut. Let's check it out. Let's check out Hut. Makes me want some Pizza Hut. Kind of want some pizza now, actually. Should I get pizza for lunch? Probably not, right? I'm lactose intolerant. That wouldn't go well for my office mates, right? They wouldn't be too happy. Anyways, Hut, nice pop up. Don't have a whole lot on this chart, to be honest. Have this nice trend line, down sloping trend line. This is a very nice break up, welcome break up. If it can close above and get past these trend lines, you're likely to see a move at least 20 something percent higher, if I had to guess, from the current level. But that's if it can break above it. If not, then not. Riot. Okay, people love Riot. These are my levels on Riot. Up move is now kind of beginning to bear flag. If we see more sideways consolidation, you're expecting a move lower, at least to 1210 would be my bounce level. But look at this. When does it have earnings? Today. And what do we not do? Do not. We do not. I do not. And I would suggest and recommend that none of you go long or short into earnings. You're gambling. You are gambling. And if you want to gamble, go to the casino. Okay? Don't short this or go long Riot into earnings. Okay? Don't touch it. All right? Like when you're trading, you want to take the highest probability setups, right? Highest probability setups only, right? And you, unless you have insider information, which if you do, send me a DM on Twitter. I'd love to see it. I'd love to know it. But unless you have insider information, there's no reason to go long or short into earnings, right? Just not. The risk is not worth the reward, right? It's just not worth it. For me, at least. Iron, last one. Let's take a look at Iron. Last one of Brewski's question. Let's check it out. For me, on IREN, let's see what I got. Don't have a whole lot, to be honest. Something like this. You have this nice downsloping trend line. Then now it's breaking above. Don't have too much price action here. Let's see if I can find anything else, any additional levels. Wow, look at that. Downsloping trend line. I really like this line a lot more. We have 3 pivot points. We know this is support. So if this breaks this, you're likely coming down, I would say at least 15%. So just be careful on this. All right, Christopher says, hi, Lauren. What's up, Christopher? What is there any good gold ETFs you would recommend if I was interested in holding gold long-term portfolio? I've heard of GLD, but I know there are others as well. Yeah, there's GLD. GDX is something we use, but it's the gold miners, right? So it's not exactly. GDX is really the main one, right? That we're kind of looking at. There's like Barrick Gold. Barrick Mining. There's just like, but I think GLD is like perfectly fine. Marcus says, why do I like ETFs more than futures? It's just what I'm more comfortable trading, to be honest. It's just it's a comfort thing for me. Excuse me. Sarah says, thanks. You are so awesome, Lon. Thanks so much for your kind words. Also, Sarah, I think you are so awesome. For the dig neckline upsloping, is this about head and shoulders? Huge gap at 40.85. Let's take a look at your chart. Dig, dig, dig. Talking about this. Yep. This absolutely 100% is a valid head and shoulders pattern. You got it. I see it. You see it. We all see it. Looks great. You're talking about this is a head and shoulders, but also this is a head and shoulders. However you want to do it, right? You could draw it a couple ways. You could, again, draw it like this is a head and shoulders. Or this is a head and shoulders. Oh, something like this. Right? Either of them are valid. Although this one is like kind of weird. Like this is like Siamese twins, right? If your head looks like that, you should probably get it checked out to see what this little crack is in your head. This little indentation. But other than that, yeah, measure move down 18%. But you got it. You got the parameters right. You got valid head and shoulders pattern, 100%. Great job, Sarah. Moncole says, hi, Lon. I'm looking to short IP USDT. Okay. Is 660 a good level? Potentially. How did you get that level? There's a nice pivot high here, 663. Another one up here on 669. And you have some resistance of just at the around $7. So these are all my levels of resistance on IPUSDT. You could consider a short at any or all of those levels. Renica says, don't trade into earnings. Yes, you got it. Pratik says, can you share your thoughts on Litecoin? I did look over Litecoin earlier, but I'd be happy to do it again. Has this nice downsloping trend line. Should you break above this, looks bullish, would look for a move at least 8% higher. Should this downsloping trend line break. All right. See what else we got. Renica says, Lawton, please look at STI. STI? STL. STI, STL. I'll find out what you typed. Straight Times Index. This, any discernible move up, or this one? I think you're talking about this one, right? If it's this one, I have nothing on it. It's a $10 million company. If it's this discernible move up, it's already at the highs. So probably not. Adonis sent me a YouTube link for your trend line battle. It's 30 seconds. Let's take a look. Oh, the Braveheart. Hold. I love it. Thanks, Adonis. That's great. STI. This is a $10 million company. I'm not interested in trading it. This is something very risky, very volatile. Again, not interested whatsoever. Michael says, hi, Lon. When you find a level on the daily, yep, and that level gives a topping or bottoming tail on the 10 minutes, you consider that as additional factor for day trade at least? Yes. 100%, of course. Absolutely. I'll take a 1 minute. I'll take a 10 minute. I'll take an hourly bottoming tail, topping tail. 100%. Just that's another factor. 100% valid factor. All right, guys, I have 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left on the clock. So if you have any final additional questions, guys, throw them my way. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. We've had a great day in the day trading room so far, up around 8K for the live day trading room. So happy to see it. You have any final questions, throw them in the chat or hold your peace. All right, we got some questions in. How do I see IQ calls with expiry in December? I like them. I like them. That's all I'm going to say. PALL, trend line break. Short, trend line break. Which trend line? There's a couple trend lines. You can say this one has not broken yet. This nice trend line. I like this trend line. Has not broken yet. Not for lack of trying. ABVX. Janesh says ABVX. Dude, this thing is insane. I have no idea what this is. It's just an IPO. I have nothing on this. There's no data. If this thing breaks this trend line, it's going to fall like 30%. I'm not touching this. Pratik says, thank you, man, for all your support. Of course, Pratik. I'm happy to do it. Happy to be here. Happy to spend time with you guys. Marcus says, can Walmart break out of the wedge or is it too far gone already? Which wedge? Oh, that wedge. Like a wedge like this. Kind of like this. Something like this, right? It could break out of the wedge. It's not too far gone. Look at this. It's trying to close above. You want to see it close above and then 2 consecutive close above. If it closes here, I'd be happy. If the next one closes up here, looking good. Looking for a move up, at least to this gap fill. 6% higher. Walmart's not a big mover, right? But if you can eke out 6% on it, I mean, you'll take it, right? Sarah says, thanks, Lawton. Is this bear flag forming in the lower part of parallel channel DBA? How many pivots have to touch the channel to make it valid? Like 2 is fine, but I'd prefer 3. So is there a bear flag forming on the bottom of this? Yeah, it looks like it. Like, let's take a look at the DB. Look, so this is my channel on parallel channel on DBA, right? I had 1, 2. Look at this. Look at this. Beautiful. Look at it. It's beautiful. Brings a tear to my eye. I'm kidding. Not really, because I'm yawning. So that's what's bringing a tear to my eye. But anyways. Nice upsloping trend line here. Down move. Bear flag. Yes. Favors a move down. I look for a target around here. My chicken scratch. I'll delete some of my chicken scratch to the bottom of this parallel, about 9% lower if that bear flag does actually break. But my parallel looks like this. What else? Adonis says, both Adonis and Sam are asking about the same chart. SLB wedge pattern forming. SLB, are you positive on it? Seems to be struggling. Let's take a look. This will be my last question. Wow, this chart is insane. Adonis. SLB, what do I think about it? I had this nice downsloping trend line that it could not break. Again, failed to break it. Now it's just kind of consolidating almost in like a parallel. You see like this type of price action. Yeah, like this side action. Couple things. You do actually have the formation of a head and shoulders pattern here. Unfortunately, if you're bullish on it, that's bad news that you have a head and shoulders pattern. If this were to play out, I actually don't know how big of a move this would be if this played out. 15% to the downside on this Schlumberger. But the good news, if you're bullish on it, it's towards the lows of the charts, right? So definitely favors a move higher, right? Favors a bounce, but I just have to point that out and be cautious on that. What you really want to watch is this trend line. If you can break above this trend line, you'll be looking nice and pretty. Knuckles says, "Hey, Lon, it's fun watching your live day trading. Thanks, man. Thanks for being in. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for watching." Last question. Okay, Pratik. Which trading platform do you use for long and shorts trade? The name of the platform that I use is called Think or Swim, and it's via Charles Schwab, but there's tons of different brokerages. Ben, Dr. B, Drew, Garrett, they all use different brokerages from me. I think Drew also uses Think or Swim, but regardless, I mean, it's important to do your own research and figure out which brokerage works best for you. And there's really no wrong answer. The most important thing is that you're able to get in long and short when you want to, that you're able to execute. And the best thing about these platforms is that a lot of them have paper trading accounts or simulated accounts where you can trade as if, you had money in there, and you can test it out basically to test your performance and get used to it, right? I definitely recommend that before just hopping in and going gung-ho. All right. But anyways, that's it for me. Again, my name is Lawton Ho here with Verified Investing. I go live every single day. The markets are open, and sometimes when they're not, from 12:30 to 1:15 to answer your questions. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. If you have any more questions, you can send them to me on Twitter at Lawton Investing. Have a great day, guys. Take it easy, and I hope to see you all tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye, guys.